Until this day, the beach was a peaceful place. James and Willie, local boys, even considered it a piece of heaven. An enormous boat of the Coast Guard had other ideas. It didn't leave its mark just on the beach, but also on these innocent local boys. James and Willie, among many other people, were completely overwhelmed by the crash. The size of the boat surely had the ability to leave behind a trail of destruction, and they soon had to figure out whether it did. But the reason for this crash was the truly disturbing part of it all. While others considered it an accident, James and Willie knew there was more to it. As local boys, they had seen enough things to realize something was very odd about all of this. They went to great lengths to find out why the boat crashed and who was responsible, and were terribly shocked when they found out. After finding out why this enormous boat crashed here, why at this particular time, and who was involved, the boys didn't hesitate. The police had to get there, and the sooner the better. The end of summer was coming, but for now, James and Willie still had the time of their lives. The twin teenage boys lived near the coast and spent each and every day on the beach. This very day, most of the tourists had left by now, so it was a perfect day to surf. But this perfect day would soon take a turn. The boys were racing each other to catch the first wave. The day was perfect for it. It was windy and sunny at the same time. Willie clearly won the first round and took on the first wave with success. But when the boys went in for round 2, something in the distance caught their attention. It was multiple speeding boats of the Coast Guard. James and Willie were not unfamiliar with them, but something seemed different this time. Usually it was just one boat patrolling along the coast or making contact with the jets floating on the sea. This time it was at least 2 of them, and they drove at high speed in the direction of the beach. The boys tried to determine whether the Coast Guard was chasing someone or maybe rescuing someone who was drowning. Now that they were coming really close to the beach, the boys assumed that someone must be drowning. They thought they might be closer since they were already in the water and started going in the direction of the boats. They would regret this, but one of the boats didn't slow down. The second one stopped when the beach came too close, but the first one kept on going at high speed. Luckily for the boys, they were just far enough to get out of the way in time. But there was no time to be relieved, as the enormous boat was only seconds away from the beach. The boat sped onto the beach with great speed, but was soon stopped by crashing into the sand. The first thought of James and Willie was to look for any possible victims, as there were some people lying on the beach before. They take a look and are relieved to see there's no one hurt. But what in God's name happened here? That very moment, a Coast Guard left the boat. He's soaked in sweat and seems extremely anxious. Unlike the boys, he's not concerned about the beach and possible victims, but keeps looking into the sea. The boys try to ask him if he's okay, but he doesn't respond. Something turned out to be very odd about this Coast Guard. The other and smaller patrol boat was way closer by now, and they reached the beach. 2 Coast Guards walked toward them. They were extremely distressed and sprinted toward the anxious Coast Guard. Only when they saw some citizens were around, they changed their attitude. The other citizens left, assuming it was an accident, but James and Willie knew better. James realized they had to stay close and listen in order to find out what happened, but Willie was the one closest to the boat in the water and just managed to get out of the way in time. For that reason, he wanted a justification and an apology. "What happened there, man?" he yelled. Little did Willie know he had to stay away from all of this. One of the 2 Coast Guards that approached the anxious one answered Willie with a calm but authoritarian voice. He was the older one, and had a long gray beard. "Stay away, boy, and don't ask questions when you have no right to the answer." Willie was intimidated and backed down right away. What did these innocent boys get into? In the meantime, the crashed boat of the Coast Guard caught a lot of attention. James and Willie recognized some citizens who got out of their cars to take a look. Once they came closer, the Coast Guards pretended it was all an accident and were extremely friendly toward the younger, anxious Coast Guard. What did they have to hide from these citizens? Once these citizens were reassured, shortly and left, the owner of the beach club saw his chance to have a look in peace. But it seemed different from the other citizens. He waited just long enough until the Coast Guard was on his own for a second, and when he was, the beach club owner ran toward him and started yelling at him. Once the other 2 Coast Guards came back, the 2 Coast Guards shook the beach club owner's hand and treated him with respect. The boys realized something was going on and decided to get closer to the crashed boat. Now that the others were distracted with their talks to the club owner, they went into the water and remained nearly invisible by diving toward the crashed boat. A shocking discovery was awaiting them. They were surprised by the enormous size of the boat and wondered why this large boat was even used so close to the coast instead of the open waters. Then they spotted something leaking from the back. The boys got a little closer and came to the conclusion that the leaking substance couldn't be gasoline. It was certainly oily but had more of a green color. What in God's name could this be? But right as they tried to get a little closer, they heard voices on the other side of the boat. The voices quickly became louder. They were already very close. James and Willie didn't hesitate and got back in the water immediately. It seemed like they were just in time, as the two coast guards and the club owner clearly didn't see them. But what about the other one? The two boys swam away and reached the beach on the safe side of the boat. Willie was determined to leave the situation, as they had already seen enough to alarm someone, but it was James who still wanted to know more, especially when he took a look at the boat from this angle. There was a victim after all. James saw the anxious coast guard lying next to the boat with his hands cuffed. The boys didn't think and ran toward the guard, trying to uncuff him. Unfortunately, they couldn't manage to uncuff him, but it did wake him up. He saw them and immediately said, "Please, please alarm the police and get me an ambulance." The boys accepted his alarming request and ran off to get to the nearest phone as quickly as possible. But as they approached the road and looked around, they saw the beach club owner running after them. He looked determined, even aggressive, and the boys started running even faster. They reached a payphone before the club owner did, and the police soon arrived. The two coast guards turned out to be corrupt and forced the younger one to work for them. He had to smuggle illegal substances for the beach club owner, Omar. But this day he panicked when he saw how much he had to smuggle and tried to escape by heading to the beach. James and Willie can now surf in peace again. The crash of the enormous Coast Guard boat left a lasting impact on James, Willie, and their peaceful beach. Their quick thinking and bravery uncovered a web of corruption involving two Coast Guards and the beach club owner, Omar, who used the boat to smuggle illegal substances. The younger, anxious guard's attempt to escape brought the truth to light, and with the boys' help, the authorities were alerted in time. Omar and the corrupt guards were arrested, putting an end to their operation. With the danger behind them and justice served, James and Willie returned to their beloved beach, cherishing its tranquility once more. Their haven remained intact, a testament to the courage of two local boys who refused to turn a blind eye. The events of that fateful day transformed James and Willie's view of their cherished beach forever. What started as a perfect day turned into a whirlwind of danger, secrets, and bravery. Their determination to uncover the truth exposed a dangerous smuggling ring, and their courage ensured justice was served. Omar and the corrupt guards faced the consequences of their actions, and the beach was returned to its rightful peace. For James and Willie, the experience became a reminder of the power of doing what's right, even when it's frightening. As the waves rolled in once more, the boys surfed with a deeper appreciation for their slice of heaven, knowing they had played a part in protecting it.